Oh, let me switch screens. Okay, if you will go to note 6-12, we are now going to move into the factoring. So we've been doing some multiplication, and then yesterday's lesson was division. To build up, well, they're going to give us an answer, and we need to divide back to get back to the multiples that you would multiply together. So warming up, we're going to practice those multiplication skills. When you do a times 3a, you multiply coefficients. So 1 times 3 is 3. And you add exponents. So 1 plus 1 would give me a squared. And then I do a times 7. So 1 times 7 is 7. And then a with no a's just makes an a. Okay, for the next one, we're going to do negative 2 times 1, which gives me negative 2. And 1 plus 2 gives me m to the third. And then negative 2 times 6, which gives me negative 12. And 1 plus 1 gives me m squared. And then we move to negative 2 times negative 1. So negative 2 times negative 1 would give me a positive 2, and 1 plus 0 just gives me m. And for my last warm-up example, we're going to do 4 times 1, which is 4. And then 3 plus 2 gives me x to the fifth, and 1 plus none gives me y. Then we're going to do 4 times negative 2, which gives me negative 8. So 3 plus none give me x to the third, and 1 plus 1 gives me y squared. Okay, so when you're factoring, first off, what is it? This is just separating a polynomial back into a product. And product just means the multiples. So the blah times blah. So they're going to give us this, and we're going to get back to that. So simplest form would be 4a squared plus 8a. That's multiplied out. Factor form would be taking out what we can take out, and you can take out a 4a to leave me with a plus 2. Now, sometimes there are going to be problems that you cannot factor. Nothing can come out of them, so we call them prime. Okay, now when you're doing GCF, step 1, you're going to identify the GCF of the polynomials. You're going to check the coefficients for a GCF. So you're looking at your numbers. You're looking for the biggest number you can divide out of both. Then you look at your variables. Let me write that. Biggest number. And a variable must be present in all the terms. If a variable is present in all the terms, take the smallest exponent. Okay? That means every piece has to have the letter, and you take the smallest exponent. And then you're just going to divide each term by the GCF and leave the remaining factors in parentheses. You check by distributing your work, and then you are done. Okay, so I'm going to work the odds with you. I'm going to show you a trick, but this only works for binomials. Okay, to find your GCF in your calculator, you can press math, you can go over to number, and you can hit the button 9, which is GCD. When GCD pops up, you can type in 7, 7, so the two numbers, and hit enter. So therefore, this will only give you numbers. Your GCF is 7. So I'm going to pull that 7 down to the bottom and open up a parentheses. Now 7 divided by 7 is 1, and then y minus none is y. And then negative 7 divided by 7 is negative 1. So now if I were to distribute this, I would get back to my answer. 7 times 1y, 7y. 7 times negative 1, negative 7. So that's my answer. Okay, so showing you again, math over to number 9. I'm going to put in 5, 30. I hit enter, and the biggest number I can divide out is 5. Okay, so I'm going to bring the 5 down to the bottom and then open up my parentheses. 5 divided by 5 is 1. I didn't pull the x out because they both don't have an x, so I keep the x. And then 30 divided by 5 is positive 6, and I didn't take a y out, so I keep the y. So now if I were to distribute this, 5 times 1x is 5x, and 5 times 6y, that would be 30, and keep the y, so this would be my answer. Flipping to the back for more examples. Okay, so 4y squared minus 24. So now you need to watch for your letters. Okay, math over to number 9. We're going to do 4 and 24, which is 4. Okay, I can take out 4. since they both have a y, this is the smaller y, so that's the one we're going to pull. So we're going to divide by 4y. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 2 minus 1 is 1. Negative 24 divided by 4 is negative 6, and 1 minus 1 cancels. So now if I distribute 4y times 1y, that gives me 4y squared, and 4y times negative 6, that gives me negative 24, and I keep the y. So I'm back to where I started. Okay, for 8, I have 14GH minus 18H. Okay, I'm going to put this in first. So math number 9, 14 comma 18. The biggest number I can divide out of both of those is 2. Now, they both don't have a G, but they do both have an H, so I divide by H. I'm going to bring down the 2H. 14 divided by 2 is 7. G minus no G's leaves me with G, and 1 minus 1H cancels the H. Negative 18 divided by 2 is negative 9, and 1 minus 1 cancels the H, so I no longer have H. Now, if I check by my distributing, 2 times 7 is 14, and then I keep both the G and the H, which that's what that is. 2 times negative 9 is negative 18, and I have to keep the H, which was what that is. There's my final answer. Moving to my next problem. Math, over to number 9. This time my numbers are 16 comma 24. I hit enter, and the biggest number I can divide out is an 8. Now I look at my letters. I have a B, and there's a B over here. So since they're both B's, I just pull B. I have a C squared and a C. So since there's both C's, I take the smallest C, which is C. So I'm going to bring down 8BC and open parentheses. 16 divided by 8 is 2. 1 minus 1 cancels, and 2 minus 1 leaves me with C. 24 divided by 8 is 3, and 1 minus 1 cancels, and 1 minus 1 cancels, so I would close my parentheses, and now I distribute to check. 8 times 2 is 16. B with no B's is just B1, and C add to give me 2, so that piece is good. 8 times 3 is 24, and there's only a B over here, so I need a B, and there's only a C over here, none over here, so I need a C, and that's what I have right there. Okay, for number 12, when you're doing this one, you go math, you go number, you hit 9. This time you're typing in a 1 and a 3 because the number's 1. Okay, the biggest number I can divide out of here is a 1. They do both share x's, and the smallest x is an x, not the x squared, and they do both share a y, and the smallest y is a y. So I'm going to divide by 1xy. So 1 divided by 1 is 1. 2 minus 1 gives me 1 for x. 1 minus 1 gives me 0 for y, so I drop the y. Okay, 3 divided by 1 is 3. 1 minus 1 gives me no x's, and 1 minus 1 gives me no y's. So now I'm going to distribute and check. 1 times 1 is 1. 1, 2 x's, 1 y. So looking at just those pieces, 2 x's, 1 y. This checks. 1 times 3 is 3. Looking at these two pieces, I have 1 x and 1 y, so x and y. So this is good. This is my answer. Okay, for 14, to figure out that GCF, if you don't know it off your head, you're going to type in 18 comma 48, and I can take a 6 out. So I'm going to divide both things by 6. They both have an A, and the smallest one is just A. They both have a B, and they're both just a plain B. And they both have a C, but the smallest one this time is that squared. So I pull the squared. I don't want the third. The third is bigger. So I'm going to bring this down. 6ABC squared. Open parentheses. 18 divided by 6 is 3. 2 minus 1 gives me 1A. 1 minus 1 gives me no B's. And 2 minus 2 gives me no C's. Negative 48 divided by 6 gives me negative 8. 1 minus 1 is no A's. 1 minus 1 is no B's. And 3 minus 2 gives me a C. Okay, I'm going to distribute and check my answer. 6 times 3 is 18. 1 plus 1 gives me 2. And I just keep the B and the C squared because there's none here. So I got all those pieces. 6 times negative 8 is negative 48. I have an A here, but none there, so I need an A. I have a B here, but none here, so I need a B. And I have a C squared and a C, so 2 plus 1 should give me 3. There's my final answer. All right, now, when you're doing 16, here comes the change. You can't put 3 numbers in for GCF or GCD, greatest common denominator, biggest thing you can divide by. So when you're doing these, if you'll do math over to number 9, type in the first 2 numbers, 9, 18. Take your answer and repeat. Math over to number 9. We're going to take 9, and the last number now is 24. So the biggest thing I can divide out of both of those, or all 3 of those, is a 3. And then I look, I have an R, an R, and an R. The smallest R I have is plain R. That's the only letter in this one, so I can't divide by any other letters. So I'm going to put 3R down on the bottom. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 8 minus 1 gives me R to the 7th. Okay, negative 18 divided by 3 is negative 6, and 2 minus 1 gives me R, and I have to keep that S because I'm not dividing by an S. And then negative 24 divided by 3 is negative 8, and R, 1 minus 1 cancels, so I just keep the S squared since I'm still not dividing by an S. I'm going to check this off as I go. 3 times 3 is 9, 1 plus 7 is 8. First piece is good. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18, 1 plus 1 is 2. I don't have an S and I have one S, so I'm good. 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. I only have one R, and there are 2 S's. Okay, final answer, boxing it. For number 18, again, if you need to see that, I'll give you a verbal hint. Your GCF can never be bigger than your smallest number. So math, go over to number 9. We're going to do 12, 36. We're going to take that answer, math over to number 9, and we're going to put 12, 6. So the biggest thing I can divide out is a 6. And then I look at all my letters. I have an A, an A, an A. The smallest A is A squared. I have a B, and a B. And the smallest B is also B squared. So I'm going to take out 6A squared, B squared, and open up parentheses. 12 divided by 6 is 2. 5 minus 2 gives me 3 A's. 2 minus 2 cancels the B. Negative 36 divided by 6 is negative 6. 4 minus 2 gives me A squared, and 3 minus 2 gives me a B. Negative 6 divided by 6 is negative 1. 2 minus 2 cancels. 2 minus 2 cancels, so the letters cancel on both the back piece. Now I'm going to multiply, and I'm going to check as I go. 6 times 2 is 12. 2 plus 3 is 5. I don't have a B to add, so I keep B squared. 6 times negative 6 is negative 36. 2 plus 2 is 4, and 2 plus 1 is 3. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. I don't have anything to add my A's or B's to, so I need to have an A squared, B squared. Everything checks, so that is my answer. Okay, for 20, math over 9. We're going to do 18 and then 24, and I get a 6. So then math over 9. We're going to do 6 and 36. Woo, I forgot the comma. So the biggest thing I can divide out is 6. Okay, there's an X here, an X here, but no X's there. There's a Y here, but no Y's here. And then there's a Z, and a Z. So Z is the only thing in all 3 pieces, and the smallest Z is this 1. So I'm going to pull out 6Z and open up parentheses. 18 divided by 6 is 3. 2 minus none leaves me with 2. 1 minus none leaves me with 1. And 1 minus 1 cancels the Z. Negative 24 divided by 6 is negative 4. 1 minus none is still 1. And 2 minus 1 is a 1. 36 divided by 6 would be a positive 6. And 1 minus none would leave me with Y. And 3 minus 1 leaves me with Z squared, 2. So now I'm going to multiply and check as I go. 6 times 3 is 18. 1Z, got that. And then I have X squared and Y. So I had all the 3 pieces. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. I have a z and a z in this piece, so 1 plus 1 is 2, so z squared, and then there is still an x, so I'm good. And then 6 times 6 is 36. I have a z and a z2, so 1 plus 2 gives me 3, and I should have a y, and there is a y in that back piece, so I am good. Boxing my final answer. Okay, for 22, if you still need to see how to do this, math, over to number, hit 9. My numbers this time are going to be 16 and 28. Oh, I put a plus sign in there, sorry. Which gives me 4. And then I repeat everything, and I do 4 and 8. So the biggest thing I can divide out is a 4. Okay, there's an x, but no x here. So no x's. There's a y, and there's a y. So I am going to divide by y, and the smallest y is just a plain y. So I'm going to put 4y down here, and now we're going to divide. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 1 minus none leaves me with x, and 2 minus 1 leaves me with 1. 28 divided by 4 is 7. 1 minus none leaves me with x, and 1 minus 1 cancels. Okay, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 1 minus 1 cancels the y. Okay, so for this piece, I'm going to multiply and see if everything checks. 4 times 4 is 16. I have 1 y and 1 y, so I should have a y squared, and I still have the x in between, so I better have an x, which I do. 4 times 7 is 28, and I have a y here, but no y's there, so I need 1 y, and I have an x here, but no x here, so 1x. And then 4 times 2 is 8, and then there's a y, but nothing else, so just y. Okay, one more example. We're in math, number 9. And my numbers this time are 3 and 9. And then I repeat. I take that answer, 3 and 15. Oh, I wrote that wrong. 3 and 15, and that gives me 3. So the biggest thing I can divide out of here is 3. A. They all have an A, and the smallest one is this 1. B, and B. The smallest one is B squared. C squared, and C3. So 1, 2, 3, the smallest one would be 1. So I'm going to divide by 3A, B squared, C. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 3 minus 1 is A squared. 2 minus 2 cancels, and 1 minus 1 cancels. So I'm out of those two letters. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So I have A, B, C on all of those. And then the last piece, 15 divided by 3 is 5. 1 minus 1 cancels A. 4 minus 2 gives me a B squared. And 3 minus 1 gives me a C squared. Okay, I'm going to distribute and see if this works. 3 times 1 is 3. I have 1A, 2A, so 1 plus 2 is 3. I have 2 B's, no B's, so 2 B's. I have a C and no C's, so 1 C. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. I have an A and an A. 1 plus 1 is 2. I have a B squared and a B. 2 plus 1 is 3. I have a C and a C. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, 3 times 5 is 15. I have an A and no A's, so 1. I have a 2 and a 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. I have a 1 and a 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. Everything's checking, so this is my answer. If you have questions on the odds, please ask.